Very well. Send a raven north. Tell Jon Snow that his queen invites him to come to Dragonstone. And bend the knee.
Sir Davos and I will ride for White Harbor tomorrow, then sail for Dragonstone.
Hey guys, in the second episode of the season we find Daenerys having an interesting meeting with Melisandre that resulted with her inviting the King in the North to come and meet her. Upon welcoming Melisandre to Dragonstone, the Mother of Dragons and the Red Priestess shared quite an interesting conversation. On Daenerys' question regarding the Lord of Light's expectations of her, Melisandre said the long night is coming, only the prince who was promised can bring the dawn. Melisandre said this sentence on High Valyrian and Daenerys translated it into the common tongue replying with, "I'm not a prince." However, the conversation was interrupted by Missandei, who highlighted that Daenerys' translation is not quite accurate since that noun has no gender in High Valyrian, and the proper translation for that prophecy would be "the prince or princess who was promised will bring the dawn." Upon being asked by Dany whether or not she thinks the prophecy refers to her, Melisandre replied with, "Prophecies are dangerous things. I believe you have a role to play as does another, the King in the North, Jon Snow." Tyrion was seemingly surprised after what she said and agrees with Melisandre to summon Jon to Dragonstone as he could be a valuable ally. Asking about him, Daenerys learns of his role as the King in the North and orders Tyrion to write the letter to Jon asking to come to Dragonstone and bend the knee. While Jon wasn't sure whether or not to leave Winterfell for Dragonstone, once he received Sam's letter in which Sam states that there's plenty of dragonglass on Dragonstone Island as it's been expected, Jon realized that he has to leave the North for Dragonstone.
Lord Tyrion has invited me to Dragonstone to meet with Daenerys. And I'm going to accept. We need this dragonglass, my lord. We know that dragonglass can destroy both White Walkers and their army. We need to mine it and turn it into weapons.
Even though the Northern Lords as well as Sansa Stark disagreed with his decision, Jon is aware that North needs powerful ally in order to stand a chance against the Night King and his vast army, and therefore he knows that meeting with Daenerys is of the crucial importance. Beside Daenerys and her 3 dragons being of the great importance in the time of war, there's also a mountain of dragonglass beneath the Dragonstone, which is beside Valyrian steel the only known substance capable of killing White Walkers.
Glass kills White Walkers. It's more valuable to us now than gold. We need to find it, we need to mine it, we need to make weapons from it.
While Daenerys will try to persuade Jon into pledging his forces to her cause in order to defeat Cersei Lannister.
The 7 kingdoms will bleed as long as Cersei sits on the Iron Throne. Join us. Together we can end her tyranny.
Jon, on the other hand, will try to convince her that the real threat is not Cersei, but rather the Night King. Jon will try to persuade Daenerys into sending her armies and dragons north.
But more importantly, we need allies. The Night King's army grows larger by the day. We can't defeat them on our own. We don't have the numbers. Daenerys has her own army, and she has dragonfire. I need to try and persuade her to fight with us.
In the last episode, the King in the North and Davos Seaworth, accompanied with a few soldiers, left Winterfell for White Harbor, the main seaport of the North, wherefrom they will set sail for Dragonstone. As the preview for the 3rd episode confirmed it, long-awaited meeting will finally take place. Jon will meet Daenerys. Promotional photos for The Queen's Justice, which is the title for the 3rd episode of the season, have recently been released, and beside teasing a huge meeting, it has also confirmed 1 or even 2 reunions. The first one is obviously a reunion between Jon and Tyrion, who bonded in the 1st episode of the very first season, while another reunion would also include Jon, but surely would not be as pleasant as the first one. The King in the North and Davos will arrive at the shores of Dragonstone in the very beginning of the upcoming episode and will be greeted by Tyrion and Missandei. Even though reunion between those 2 characters will be formal, as the Hand of the Queen is welcoming the King Jon Snow, I'm very excited and looking forward to a conversation that those 2 will most certainly have while being at the same location. In the first season, those 2 shared quite a few conversations, and one of Tyrion's quotes that he said back then turned out to be very helpful 6 seasons later.
All dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes.
I think it's really Tyrion. It could be someone trying to lure you into a trap.
Read the last bit.
All dwarves are bastards in their father's eyes. What does that mean?
It's something he said to me the first night we met.
However, upon being greeted, Jon and Davos will be escorted by Tyrion and Missandei into the castle, or more accurately into the Dragonstone throne room to meet Daenerys. Another reunion is not teased nor confirmed, but it might have been hinted by new promotional photos, as well as by one of the official trailers. There's a photo of Varys whispering something into Daenerys' ear, which might be Varys informing Daenerys about Yara's fleet being intercepted and destroyed by Euron Greyjoy. However, I believe that Varys is rather informing his queen about the single rowboat filled with a few surviving Greyjoy soldiers arriving at their shores, including Theon himself, which would also mean that their fleet has been destroyed. From the official trailer, we know for sure that Theon will arrive at Dragonstone at some point of the 7th season. Taking into account that Euron will in the very next episode arrive at King's Landing with his prisoners, Theon arriving at Dragonstone doesn't seem to be out of the realm of possibilities. If you're wondering why would Varys inform Daenerys about either of those two possibilities that I mentioned a few moments ago by whispering, it's because Daenerys is having a meeting with Jon Snow at that very moment. Jon Snow being at Dragonstone and Theon on the other hand arriving on its shores seems to be a good time for another reunion, which will not be as pleasant as a reunion between Jon and Tyrion. There's also a photo in which we can see Melisandre being approached by Varys. From the official trailer, we know that Melisandre will be watching over Jon Snow and Davos while those two are being escorted into the castle, which means Varys will join Melisandre a few moments later, since it seems to be the same spot. Other than those photos from Dragonstone, there's also a shot that includes Grey Worm during the attack of Casterly Rock. In the last photo, we can see Samwell Tarly in the Citadel. In this video, I will provide an answer on a very common question regarding Arya Stark's reunion with her long-lost direwolf Nymeria, which is, what's the meaning of Arya's parting words? As I predicted in one of my previous videos regarding Arya, reunion between her and Hot Pie resulted with Arya finding out the truth about the rise of House Stark. As it's been expected, upon finding out that her sibling retook Winterfell and that Jon has been proclaimed the king in the north, Arya changed her route and is now heading north to Winterfell rather than south to King's Landing. Arya chose to reunite with her family with the pack rather than being on her own, rather than being a lone wolf in order to survive and most importantly to protect her family. However, even though her second reunion was expected to happen as well, it didn't go quite well. While Nymeria did save Arya from her pack, she didn't join Arya on her way home. As I was saying, Arya's parting words, "That's not you," caused a confusion among the fans, and even though many of us suspected it was a callback to season 1, it's recently been confirmed by the showrunners. Long story short, in the 4th episode of the very first season, there's a scene in which Ned tells his daughter that one day she will be a lady and will get married to a powerful lord, on which Arya replies with, "No, that's not me."
Can I be Lord of a Holdfast?
You will marry a High Lord and rule this castle. And your sons shall be knights and princes and lords.
No. That's not me.
One of the showrunners, David Benioff, says that Arya wants Nymeria to come back home with her and be her loyal companion again, but Nymeria's found her own life. Benioff's collaborator, D.B. Weiss, on the other hand, underlines the Ned Stark's callback, saying, "That's not you," is a direct reference to what Arya herself said to her father when her father painted this picture for her as a lady of a castle and marrying some lord and wearing some frilly dress. Arya is not domesticated, and it makes total sense her wolf wouldn't be either. Once the wolf walks away, at first she is heartbroken to have come this close. Then she realizes the wolf is doing exactly what she would do if she were that wolf. Nymeria does have a new life as she is a leader of a pack of wolves, but I'm sure she will appear once again in the hour of greatest need. In conclusion, those new promotional photos tease a huge meeting between the king in the north and the mother of dragons, as well as a reunion between Jon and Tyrion. It also might have hinted a reunion between Jon and Theon, as I believe Varys is interrupting a huge meeting by informing his queen about Theon's arrival at the shores of Dragonstone, but I leave it to you to decide whether or not this prediction is true. Anyway, Queen Daenerys will demand to the king in the north to bend the knee and pledge his army to her cause, while Jon on the other hand will try to convince her that the real threat is not Cersei but rather the Night King and his army. And as always, let me know your opinion about all of this in the comment section down below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to subscribe to our channel, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace.